Anger is the single toughest emotion to deal with out of all the other negative emotions that exist out there. And I'm sure many of you watching right now can completely agree with that if you experienced anger recently. Very hard to control. So in this video, I thought it would be important for me to explain where anger comes from. And I've also developed a 5-step process that if you follow, you should be able to significantly reduce the amount of anger that you experience on a daily or weekly basis, if not completely eliminate it. So I want to start off by talking about where does anger come from and why do we experience anger? So I've come to discover through a lot of meditation and of course research online from actual psychologists that many or much of people's anger actually comes from fear inside of us. And that may surprise a lot of you, and it surprised me when I heard that too, because a lot of times we don't actually consciously experience this fear inside of us that may be right there without us knowing, because we're kind of subconscious or unconscious on a daily basis, or maybe fear that's stuffed inside of us, and just kind of manifests itself every now and then, and ends up turning into anger without us really realizing it. And it's also kind of difficult because there can be fear of so many different things, so it can be hard to pinpoint the original source of your fear. For example, there's fear of the unknown, fear of failing, fear of not pleasing somebody, fear of not achieving your goals, fear of having fear. There's fear for somebody else. You may be fearing for someone else, or maybe fearing about losing a loved one. See, there's almost endless fear, which once again makes anger one of the more complicated emotions to deal with. So step number 1 to dealing with anger the right way is to catch it early. Now, this is very challenging to do. So a big reason a lot of people experience tons of anger is because they don't recognize it when it's building up right in front of them. And this is true with a lot of different emotions. We're such unconscious humans on a daily basis. We're always worried about at least like 25 different things at one time almost. So it's very hard for us to actually focus on our own emotions that are arising right before us. Anger, for whatever reason, more than any other emotion out there, if there's a spark of anger inside of you, anger for whatever reason can just blow up into a complete wildfire in a matter of minutes or even seconds. So step number 1, just try catching the anger earlier. A great way to do that is actually through meditation. If you meditate more often, it helps you to become more aware of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So the more you meditate, the more you're naturally going to be able to catch anger and other emotions earlier before they become too out of control where there's no going back. So step number 2 when it comes to dealing with anger effectively is to not suppress your anger. That's the last thing you want to do, is suppress your anger. Now, the average person out there, their natural reaction when they start feeling a little bit of anger and the unpleasant feeling of anger is to just start pushing it away or suppress it or just try to forget about it. Whatever that may be, do not do that. That's probably one of the worst things you can do when it comes to anger or any negative emotion. The way I like to think about it is when you suppress anger, it's just stuffing it deep inside of you. And that may feel better in the short term, but when you keep stuffing that anger inside of you, it just keeps building up and has more of a potential to just come out of nowhere and manifest itself and be even more powerful than the anger you initially experienced when you suppressed it. Step number 3 to dealing with your anger effectively is to try to understand your anger. So far we got step number 1, which is catching it early. Step number 2 is do not suppress it or try to push it away. And step 3 is you're going to want to once you're facing that anger, really just try to understand it. It's impossible to completely get rid of anger. So the best thing we can do, and the easiest thing we can do, is just try to understand it and potentially make a relationship with the anger so it doesn't get out of control, and you realize that anger can actually not have any effect on you if you don't let it. When you notice the anger, hopefully early on, and you don't suppress it, just pause for a short moment or so and just really focus on what that anger feels like. You can even close your eyes. If you're experiencing anger right now, you could try it. You just close your eyes and just really try to feel where you're feeling the anger, maybe try to describe it the best you can mentally. and just really focus and look at it. Now this is hard for a lot of people. A lot of people's natural reactions is to push it away and try to forget about it. So when people start trying to face and just really stare at the anger they're experiencing, it can be challenging. But in the long term, if you train your mind to just pause for a moment and really just stare at that anger, you may begin to realize that anger is basically just a feeling, and it really has no effect over you if you don't let your mind keep building on that anger. When you really just kind of stare and focus on your anger, you just have to watch it as it is and do not try to change it or associate yourself with that anger. You just kind of, the way I like to think about it is just stare at your anger like it's an animal at the zoo. I mean, you don't really sit there and really judge the animal at the zoo, right? Or be like, oh, it should be doing this or it should be doing that. You just kind of, observe it and just enjoy the animal and the wildlife. Magical things will happen. All right, step number 4 is you want to refocus and retrain your mind when it comes to anger. So after those first 3 steps, you're looking at your anger, facing it in the face. And what you want to do from there is, after a moment or so of just watching your anger and trying to understand it, you don't want to focus on it for too long, otherwise it's very easy for your mind and the anger to connect and make you feel like you are the anger. So what you want to do is, after a moment or 2 of just watching the anger, is you want to leave the anger there. Don't try to push it away. Just know that it's there and gently guide your focus and awareness to something specific. I recommend your breath. So notice the anger, stare at it for a few moments, just really watch it, and then leave it there and gently guide your full focus back to your breath. And just focus on your breath for maybe 30 seconds or so. And the more you do this, the more you're gonna train your mind. Hey, I know there's anger there. It's not bothering me, so I'm just gonna gently guide my focus back to the present moment and continue on doing what I've been doing. Now, step number 5 to dealing with your anger is more of a preventative step, meaning after you completed those steps, that should be good enough, but step number 5 is going to be a little bit additional help in preventing the anger from showing up in the first place. And that is just to make relaxation techniques a higher priority on a daily basis or even weekly basis. Meaning you could throw a wide variety of techniques and practices into your week that are going to help you calm down and relax. And when you're calm and relaxed, it's a lot less likely that anger is going to start showing up. A couple good examples of ways to start incorporating more intentional relaxation into a daily or weekly basis for you is, I got it written down here, is to meditate more often. You can experience Himalayan salt therapy. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. I've done it before. It's very calming and relaxing. You can take an essential oil bath, put maybe 5 to 10 drops of lavender oil in your bath and just soak in there for a while. Lavender can be very calming and relaxing. Cryotherapy, you can drink some relaxing herbal tea. Lavender is another good one for herbal tea. You can get a massage, go to a massage therapist. You can try acupuncture, or you can even try qigong. All of those are great ways for you to start incorporating more intentional relaxation into a daily or weekly basis. Obviously, a lot of us try to relax throughout the week, but I feel like a lot of us don't set enough specific time and dedicated time to relaxation practices like the ones I just mentioned. Awesome, so I hope you find those 5 tips very helpful, and I'm sure you will find them helpful when you start actually practicing them on a regular basis and retraining that mind of yours. Now, if you're interested in meditation, which is probably my #1 recommendation to start dealing with anger and, like I said, make a relationship with that anger, I highly recommend checking out my free 7-day guide to starting meditation for beginners. Just a simple guide, step-by-step guide with a new meditation every single day. And yeah, you can download that completely for free in the description of this video. I'll link to it. You just enter your name and email address, and I will immediately send it over to your email for you to use for the rest of the week or for weeks to come. So check that out, start learning meditation, and start working your way toward a less angry life.